Hi, everybody. Hope everybody's having an awesome day today. And thank you very much for joining me for my QBO work tab. So just make sure we're recording. So we're just going to kind of do this informal. There's a lot to cover. It will be recorded. You will receive the recording. So if you have to pop up and leave early, don't worry about it because you will definitely have your recording coming to you within 2 days. And then if you've got questions, you can use either the Q&A or the chat. It's going to be easier to use the Q&A. So if you can see that, because then I can actually tick off which ones I've kind of answered as I've gone through, but we will have a full open Q&A at the end as well too. And then I'll kind of stop a few times before I move on, just to see if there's any questions or anything that I haven't covered before we've moved on there. All right, so let's just, before we dig in, I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me. So somebody can just, pop a note into the chat. If you guys can hear me all right or not, please. Nobody wants to pop in the chat. Maybe, oh, perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Retta. Perfect. Okay, so we're going to, I'm actually just going to dig right in then. Okay. Now, I'm a little rusty. It's been over a year since I've done this one, so please bear with me. But so what we've got here is how to manage your practice. So learn how to manage your practice like a pro and discover the tools and tricks to running a smooth business using the QBOA work tab. So that's myself down at the bottom. Perfect. So a little bit about myself. You guys can read through most of this stuff on your own. I'm not going to read it out to you. Just a couple of things to note for those of you who don't know. I actually, my firm was, or still is, the Rating into a Global Firm of the Future for 2018. We were Canadian runner-up for 2017. But the biggest thing is our Bookkeepers Bootcamp, which some of you may have heard about, is actually qualified for continuing education credits through the IPBC in 2018. And it's 24 credits that they did give because there's a minimum of 24 hours. So that's a pretty big deal. So I just like to be able to share that out. So I know there's at least one of you on here who's going to already signed up for an upcoming bootcamp session. So you'll get your continuing education credits for that, which is absolutely awesome for you. So again, just a couple of the accolades, you can read through those if you'd like at your own leisure. And then if you're looking to reach me, so again, I'm Tanya Hill, Certified Professional Bookkeeper through the IPBC, and I am the founder of Cloud Bookkeeping Services and Tanya's Bookkeepers Bootcamp. So if you're looking to reach me on social media, at Tanya's Bootcamp on Facebook and on Twitter. I do have another one, but that one's for the public. This one is for our industry. A little bit about myself personally. My passions are my family, unique experiences, and learning ASL with my daughter. That's kind of slowed down a little bit. We're not moving as fast as I would like. And no, these people are not all pictures of the families. Anybody who's been to any of my webinars or knows me knows that we like to do these unique experiences. And my daughter and I go and spend the weekend with the cast of our favorite TV show at a convention, and we do pictures there, and we get to do really cool, unique experiences with them. And these are just some of the experiences that we've done and some of the bands that we've met. And yes, one of them is with my husband, so he's included in one of these pictures. And there's Rosie, who is my four-legged fur baby, as well as our office manager. So she's locked out. We've told her to be quiet because we're recording, so hopefully this the recording goes off without a hitch and we don't hear her, because she's a beagle. She's very, very verbal. All right, so the agenda for today. So we're just going to go through some current pain points, what you could automate, and what tools you can use to automate these. And of course, we're focusing mostly on the QBOA practice, the QBOA work tab. So I like to start off a lot of my webinars with just a unique quote, and this one really spoke to me when it came to this part. So the secret of getting ahead is getting started, and the secret of getting started is breaking your complex, overwhelming tasks into small, manageable tasks, and then just starting with the first one. And that was by Samuel Longhorn Clemens, also known as Mark Twain. So if anybody is going to know that, it's definitely going to be him, because he I think it was over 50 books he actually wrote. And of course, you can't write that many books without getting an awful lot of writer's block and, figuring out where you go. It's just like walking. You're just going to put one foot in front of the other, and you will get there eventually. It might take you a little bit longer, but focus just on what the task is directly in front of you, and then it's not as overwhelming. All right. Sorry, here we go. Okay, and did you know that you can automate up to 75% of your tasks, and that can make you more efficient and more effective? So these are really good numbers, and we just need to be careful and recognize that we can't let automation lower our quality of work, and we still need to keep compliance in mind. And it's really important to find that right balance, and this may change from client to client. So although we do a lot of automation, we actually also make sure that we're still have a personal touch with those clients every single month. Okay, so I just want to do a quick survey. So just in the comments, just let me know what software or apps that you're using right now that make your practice more efficient. So I just want to type that in. Again, that would be perfect for in the chat. Some of you are using QBOA. That's great. So I've got Receipt Bank and QBO, and that's perfect. HubDoc, great. We use all of those. QBO, Receipt Bank. Okay. So that's good. So hopefully you're taking advantage of what's in QBO, the QBOA work tab. If not, if you're only taking a little bit of advantage, I'm going to show you pretty much everything that you can do within it these days. So again, there's an awful lot that you can do. So what are current pain points? So juggling in between multiple solutions. So accounting professionals constantly have to navigate between several solutions and tools to do their work. So, tax, accounting, and then across multiple clients as well, while managing our clients' work as well as our work. So it's not productive to constantly switch from one place to another, especially when they're not connected. It takes time, and it's really frustrating to maintain all the information up to date in different tools. And then, of course, it's challenging to get an end-to-end view of the work in the clients. There's also the fear of something falling into the cracks. So accountants and bookkeepers' work, as we all know, is very deadline driven. The number of deadlines is completely insane. So our HST filing task, for example, is 10 to 25 subtasks for verification and compliance. And then, of course, we all know that missing a deadline equals fines that we get to pay for the client, or potentially losing the client and getting a bad rep. So we don't want any of that at all. And so the existing process used to track the work in a lot of cases, can be really cumbersome, disjointed, and highly manual, leaving the employees feeling overwhelmed and firm owners feeling anxious that things might fall through the cracks. And disconnected communication. So accountants and bookkeepers can't communicate with their clients and collect documents all within their accounting software where we're actually doing the work. So yes, we absolutely need to start to pull in something from outside. And this is where automation comes in. So what can you automate? So you can automate client email communication. You can automate internal tasks and the assigning of tasks. You can automate workflow processes. You can automate your to-do list, your team communication, the retrieval of the communication, client contracts and agreements. This is what we use to actually automate all of this here internally. So we use QBOA for our deadline management. We can add and track our to-dos, very easily delegate or change the delegation as we need to. So, for example, right now we're actually have a turnover on staff. So we've had some from the person who's just left that we've got to reassign. We have somebody new brought in who will eventually be taking over those tasks. But while she's training, we need to temporarily reassign them to ourselves. So it's really easy within QBOA to go ahead and do that. We can monitor the statuses, so I can see, all of us can see what's been done, what's still outstanding, and we can make or get updates, and that's really great. So the client connection, we can compose messages with our clients and message requests. We can streamline their communication. We can share documents through the QBOA, which is great. We don't do this on all of our clients. We do this for 1 or 2 because for the most part, our clients really aren't in QBOA, and we use 17 Hats to do some of this. But if somebody doesn't have something like that, it's absolutely available in QBOA to be able to do that. You're staying visible and accessible with the clients, and then you can access everything on one list and on the go through the mobile phone app, which is great. And then the QBOA, everything is all in one place. So that's what I love about it. 17 Hats, what we use that for is our email automation. So we've got automatic client emails, and we do change these up every season. So we want it to look different. We don't want it to look exactly the same. So we might go in and say, oh, hope you're having a great summer. So we can go in and set that up once, add one little line in there, and it'll change for all of the clients that it's scheduled to go out on. And that's actually really cool. We're automated our client reminders. So we're essentially babysitting our clients to be able to get the information when we need it to make all of our deadlines, because clients don't care about us and about the work. They just want us to get it done. We all know that. So if we send them a reminder, we're finding that for the most part, by the 15th of every quarter, we're getting our quarterly HST tax filings done. Whereas before we started with that, it used to be, we were sitting there still in the last couple of days of the month, still stressing, working hours to get everything done. And so we're also automating our client questionnaires, our email templates, our full quote process is all done through there as well. We use it as a CRM, so it's a full CRM. There's client contact information, their notes. We can email to and from there so we can see the full picture, their contracts, their quotes, their pricing selections. So all of that is saved in there. And then the QBOA integration. So you can do it. We don't do this because we don't actually invoice for most of everything, but you can do a manual sync to QBO with your invoices. We set everything up in sales receipts. Everybody is on a receivable, so a PAD agreement right for their bank account at the first of the month. So it goes out as a sales receipt. The money comes out, boom, it's nice and beautiful. So we don't have any AR except for tax clients. We do still invoice through tax clients, but we don't manage their invoices through 17 Hats. That's all done in QBO. And then we also use Slack internally. So it's our internal communication. It declutters our desk. It's helping to declutter our email inbox, and it makes it easier for internal communication. Because of course we all know we're drowning in email. So basically what we do is if it's something that we want to let them know, bring attention to, for us, for a particular client, or again, a little bit more urgency, we're sending that through Slack. If maybe it's longer and it's just, hey, just to let you know, something, again, we're sending that through email. So yes, we're still sending the same amount of communication, but it's just when do we want them to see and to action on the communication is different. So we all put Slack as a priority to look at that one. Slack also has tasks. So there's icons that we can use in the legend to view, take ownership, completion. We can create to-do lists. So we put a little star item on it, and now that's added in a to-do list, which is really, really good, and we work from that. And then there's a QBOA integration. So it integrates with the QBOA. So if we're completing a task, all of a sudden it'll pop up in the client's channel that that task has been completed, or it's been assigned, or there's something. So it'll pop up in the client channel. So we've each got client channels. So that's really cool. And there is a link in Slack to the assignment in QBOA so that you can use if you're using advanced Slack. So again, that's really cool, so that you can just click on that link in Slack. It'll take you directly to the client in QBOA where you need to be. So that's very, very cool. All right, so the benefits. So how do you win with QBOA practice management? You save money. It minimizes the apps that you're using, and it minimizes your administrative costs for all of those administrative tasks. You can save time and make your deadlines. So you're not signing into multiple apps anymore. You don't have them, timing out and having to re-sign in. You don't have to remember who you delegated the work to and then trying to find out if tasks were completed or if the work was in process. You can see all of that very easily. And the client communication. Clients will be happier with more clear communication and reminders. Clients won't lose your emails, notes, or text amongst their email list, which we know happens. Hey, it happens to us. Of course it happens to our clients. And then clients get client responses sooner to help stay on top of the work. So now we're just going to dig right in and do a close-up on QBOA practice management. So I'm just going to kind of run through some screenshots really quickly, and then we're actually just going to go in and actually do a demo. So you can create a single project. You can create a recurring project, which is really cool. So that way you can have it recurring, set times, every second week, every week, anything like that. So here's your work progress updates. There's a mobile status view, so you can check it out right on your phone when you're on the go. You can create your client requests out of there. You can create the client email notification directly from here. It'll send to them an email. You can select for it to not reply by email, which is really cool that they have to respond in QuickBooks to, again, keep it in one spot. You can turn on the replies so that they can reply by email if you would rather not have them sign in, which is really cool. Here's a client notification view. So if they were to sign in, receive that there's something, they can sign in, and here's their notification view right there. They've got a respond view, so they can bring in, they can add a document, upload it. So that's really cool with that. Here's the client request progress. So you can see, here's the client, just where I've got the red arrow down here, it's in progress. So they're still working on it. It's not finished yet. Here's all the documents that have been shared in QBOA. So again, if there's, they're uploading their bank statements here to you. You can see all the history of the documents, so that's really cool. Again, there's a mobile request that you can send everything off from there. And so you can see there's a lot you can do. So we're just going to dig right in and actually show you how easily these can all be set up. So let me pop this screen over. Okay, so I'm in my training account here and just pop right into work. So again, there's nothing in here right now because I haven't done this in, it's been almost a year since I've done this training video because I've been focused on everything else in the past year. So we've got nowhere to go. So this is great to show how people who aren't using this right now, how easy your setup is. So first off, there's a couple of different views. So you can view here, I can look at all, client only, or firm only. So if I just want to look at my firm only tasks or particular clients, so Homer happens to be our only client set up here right now in this account. Everyone, so I can look at myself, Leanne, Sandra, well, there's some, I guess, other people that we've let in to be able to go in and kind of play around, and that's great. So I can look at all types, projects, tasks, or requests. So now a project is a big, that's your big main project. So let's say we've got, our HST filing process. That's a project. And then it's broken down into multiple steps. Each of those steps is a task within that project. So they may have different dates, they may not have different dates, but this way you're not having to put everything all into one great big note. It can actually separate the task out, which makes it easier to do step by step by step. And then we can look at just the request from the clients. Right here's a from QuickBooks. So I can turn this on and look at from QuickBooks. So from QuickBooks would include, let's say their payroll is due and it's automatically pulling in. So if we're looking at the client screen and you've got those lists of what's due and there's 200 unaccepted transactions and payroll is due. I think that's all that really shows is the two of them. Those would actually show right here if you've got the from QuickBooks turned on. Personally, we have that turned off. The reason being we have it turned off is that we do have some of our clients that are support plan clients. And what that means is that they're working in their own files themselves. We don't. So if they're running their own payroll, I don't need to know, I don't need a task to run their payroll. They're running it. We run everything again by deadline. We check our QBO, our bank feeds, our receipt bank, our HubDoc. We check that weekly. So again, we've got clients to do their own. So I don't care that they have 217 unaccepted transactions. It doesn't affect my work. We do care because they're kind of falling behind. We deal with that separately. That's a different issue altogether. We do monthly reviews on our clients to say, hey, you're kind of falling behind, to help keep them up to date. But if they're working on their books and that's not within our scope of work, doesn't matter at all to me. There's a quick note here I'm just going to jump back to. So Marie asks, what payment platform do we use to bill our clients automatically? So that's going back to when I said we do sales receipts and receivables. So we personally use Rotessa. I like Rotessa because of the fact that I can manually set it up. Pluto is another great option. A lot of people love Pluto. The reason that we prefer Rotessa to Pluto is I can have the client sign my own pad agreement, which is just, you know, I can send it to them in PDF. We're in a more rural area, so we do have a lot of people that are still kind of iffy about that. Maybe they like to kind of pop in. So if they still want to manually sign a piece of paper, they can do that. They can manually sign, or sorry, they can digitally sign one of our contracts in 17 Hatch should they want to do that. But then I'm not stuck using the exact same payment provider. I have my pad agreement. I can then turn around and add them into Rotessa. If I want to change to something else, maybe if Rotessa is not working down the road or something else comes out better, I can turn around and add them into there. The one thing that I find that I've been very verbal with Pluto that I don't like, and the main reason we don't use Pluto is just strictly because of the fact it depends on the client to do multiple steps to set them up. So they have to sign that agreement, then they have to confirm their bank account, then they have to do this, then they have to do that. And clients are not going to put that as top priority. They could care less what we need and all of those steps. And I just found that when I was using Rotessa, it was one thing to sign the void check and that was it. So I could then easily go in and set everything up in the back end, and it just made it easier for me. So that's my personal preference. I've been doing some looking into those in the States, and I think Simple Pay, just bear with me 1 second. Yeah, you guys are seeing my screen here because I know we've got some US on here is the reason why I'm pulling into this. And we go through this actually in our boot camp in one of our weeks, our AR0 week. We go through the options. And it's Pay Simple. So Pay Simple seems to be the best one when I did my research there. And we don't offer clients from credit card. That's just our choice. If we did, Pay Simple does credit card in the States, Canada, and the States is QBO. So we do have QBO, our QBO merchant payment set up, but we only offer our tax clients. Here we are. We only offer that to our tax clients. So hopefully that was able to answer the questions for both, you know, our Canadian and American viewers. Okay, so here again, here's the one view. Here is that we'll kind of pop back to this so that you can see it once we've actually got some tasks and projects entered in here. So you can very clearly see we've got today, we have this week, next week, and the next 30 days. So I really like how this is just showing. So I only focus on today. I might take a quick glance into this week and see what's coming up in this week, but otherwise it's today that I'm focusing on. When I look here, here's our view. So we do have some future data tasks in here, which is great. And this is the list view, and this will basically show a year. It'll show all statuses. Now, when you're a power user like we are, and we use this for absolutely everything, it can get extremely overwhelming looking at this list. And so therefore, I don't like it. I just want to, again, focus on directly what's ahead of me, one step at a time. And that's it. So I don't look at this view, and that's my personal preference. They've also recently added in a calendar view. So if you wanted to pop in here, again, we'll come back once we've got some tasks in here. You could actually see the calendar view, what's due in the calendar view. So I really liked that they added that. They didn't have that a year ago. So that's really cool that they added that. Just popping back, sorry, Marie's just clarifying. So the pad comes into the client's bank automatically via Rotessa, and then a recurring sales receipt from QBO to confirm the payment and record the sale in the books. Absolutely, Marie. So the sales receipt has the money going into undeposited funds. As soon as the Rotessa goes in, it does a nice, beautiful match, and that's it. We're done. The only thing that you need to be worried about is if it does actually bounce out, but Rotessa lets you know that date. So if your payments are on the first of the month where it's being withdrawn, Rotessa actually does send you a notice right on the 1st, so that way you can go in and adjust that sales receipt and invoice that client separately and get in touch with them immediately. So I like that. The only time it won't let you know on the 1st is if the 1st happens to fall on a weekend, in which case it'll take it out on the very next banking day, and that's when you're notified right away. Okay, so let's pop back into here. So there's our views, so that's great. They've got the little show me, so of course you can kind of go around and, you know, never miss a deadline, so there's notifications there. Here's where you can manage your templates, and it's taking us right into some of the templates. So Intuit did have some templates set up right here, and they've a bookkeeping, a year-end, a client onboarding, and a payroll. So what they did is they just worked with some partners. I think they worked with more accountants, not necessarily bookkeepers, is what I heard at that point. But they did work with their accounting partners, and they just went through. And here's a sample of, you know, a Quickstart template for bookkeeping. So, you know, you're posting the source documents, you're posting sales invoice, prepare posting bank deposit. So it kind of lays it out step by step. We use ours a little differently than that. This is too much of an overview for some of our processes because we're huge on compliant, and we want to have this for scalability. We want to have everything set so that it's very easy to train somebody, that they can come in and just look step by step by step. So that's really important for us. So ours is more detailed than this, but these would be the steps. So this main bookkeeping is the project. Each one of these is a task within that project. So if I wanted to turn around and use this, I could create a project, I could duplicate a project, or we can close it. So again, there's a client onboarding, same thing. There's their 12 steps to onboarding. Here's our onboarding. I think we just used theirs. So I kind of showed how you could turn around and set that up. So if we want to create, so let's say we want to create a client onboarding, you could just grab the template. Here's the name. We're going to add it to Homer Simpson. What's our due date? So when do we want the project to be done by? So if we want the project to be done by all the steps within the project, let's say by the end of August, we can do that. We don't want it to repeat because once they've been onboarded, it's once. But if this were one of those recurring ones, we could turn around and have it repeat as to, you know, monthly, bi-weekly, weekly, quarterly, yearly, how often, how many weeks, how many months, you know, we can put a deadline on it. So that's really cool, or we can just turn it right back off. So who is this assigned to? So Leanne does our onboarding here, so I'll assign it to her. We can put, you know, lots of detailed notes here. There's lots of room. We have never had, and we do a lot of detailed notes in some cases. We've never had where we've hit our maximum on there, which is great. So then we hit our tasks. Our tasks automatically are defaulting to today's date for this. So we can turn around and we can change these. So if we want the whole project done by August 31st, we can then turn around, click on this, we can add some details. So if we want to add some details in here, and change the due date. So maybe we do want to meet with them by, we've assigned it today, so maybe we want to meet with them by Monday. So we can give that as our due date for that one. We can pop in here. So, okay, if we meet with the client on Monday, maybe the client's got to gather that information. So maybe we're going to give them until Wednesday to gather that. So we can give each of these different deadline dates within there. That's not how we use it personally, because we, again, have it broken down so that essentially our project really is going to be done pretty much in one sitting. So we don't change this. But again, that's just how we find it works best with us. What I love about this is it's got the flexibility to be able to fit into your own firm, how you want that fit in there. So again, let's say create the new QuickBooks Online. Yeah, we want that to be, you know, we want to do that before the client comes in. So let's say we want that done by Friday, you know, set up their information. Again, we'll do that. Maybe we need some information, so we'll do that. We'll set that up by Tuesday, you know, import all of their lists. Again, we can go through, change all of these, so that way it's all done by the 31st. Now, if we save this and we pop back over to our main work, now you can see, oh, we've already got one overdue here on the 6th. There's 8 due here, 1 due here. So it doesn't really give us the details unless we click on that date. Now we can see what's due, who it's been assigned to, so those are my initials. Here, again, what it is. So it's showing us all the individual tasks. And then here is showing us the main project is to Leanne. So again, you can have different tasks within that project broken down to assign to different people. Again, that's not the way we work, because we essentially have a project is our task, and our tasks are our instructions on how to do that. But again, you've got the flexibility. If we look at the list view, again, that's not going to change, except for now, this one that's overdue is actually in orange to bring your attention that it's overdue. And we pop over into the list here. Here's today, here's this week. And this is the view that I like. So if this wasn't overdue, if it was just due today, it would actually not be orange. So it would just look like these, but it would just be in this column. So again, this is the one that we work from. And I think most of the team works from this one just because it keeps us focused. We're not worried, again, what's happening tomorrow. Sometimes it's kind of good to see so that we can be, oh, it's a big day tomorrow. Maybe I better really put my head down today and get everything finished today, because tomorrow I've got a lot due. So it really, really helps with that. Again, the whole team can see who this is assigned to. So yep, here's Leanne's initials, all the rest are my initials. So that's really great with that. Let's say that we want to create our very own template. We want to manage templates. We can create a template real easily. So just like, you know, you should never type an email more than once, you should never create one of these more than once. So let's say we want to set this up. Review QBOA, bank feeds, HubDoc, receipt bank. So this is actually one of our tasks that we do have that we would set up to repeat. We would repeat this weekly, every 1 week. Maybe it's on Wednesday for this client. So details, I really wouldn't put any details in here. I would just add the task. So again, how we use this is just our main thing that we're going to do in one sitting. So here we're going to put, you know, review QBOA bank feeds. Our due date is always the same date. So we can hit set later, and that'll just default it to the same date as the project. So here, the review QBOA bank feeds, maybe I want to give them more details. Maybe I want to let them know, you know, match. And again, thinking scalability and training new team members. So match all matched. Actually, you know what? I wouldn't even put this one first. So if I'm just typing it, so match all matched items in bank feed. Maybe I want to add a task here. And then I realize, oh, hang on, we're not going to start there. We're actually going to start with maybe receipt bank and HubDoc first. So maybe we should put review HubDoc. But guess what? Now I can turn around. If I click off that and I grab these little things, I can now drag and I can move the order. So if I'm thinking, oh, I did that out of order, no problem. That's easily fixed. So here, maybe my details are going to be, you know, like assign into HubDoc, you know, review folder and failed folder. I could turn around and actually do these as 3 separate tasks if I wanted. I could do them as 1 separate task. So, you know, we've got that, and then, you know, process anything in these folders. So again, we can be as detailed or as not detailed as we want. And then I'm like, okay, my next task, we're going to then review receipt bank. So I can add review receipt bank, add my details. Again, process new items in receipt bank. And then again, we would want to do that before the bank feeds. So again, I can move those around. So it's really good. I can save that template. And so if we've got the same flow for every client, we can then turn around and add that to every client. So now homers come on to a client. Let's say we finished some of those details. Let me go back to work. And, you know, we've set up their company information. So I can sit here and I can click done. I can click to do and progress or blocked. So this is how I can communicate with the rest of the team as to where I am on this as well. So let's just say I've done that one. You know, I've done this. I've kind of gone all the way through. And one of these was set up repeating projects. So let's say this is the one that I'm at. I'm setting up the repeating projects. So I can then turn around and go back and I create a project. I want to use the template I've just set up. So we want to use this one here. But let's say there's something really particular. Let's say we're using, auto entry as well with Homer. I can turn around and I can add a new task specifically for this one to Homer, or I can go in and customize, and it's not affecting the template. So I can also do, like check auto entry. So auto entry, for those of you who don't know, is really good for the sales. It pushes through sales and credits, which Receipt Bank and HubDoc currently do not. I know Receipt Bank is in a beta for that right now. I have no idea when that's going to come out, what it's going to look like and whatnot, but now auto entry is definitely the solution for that. So if we want to, check that before we're checking the bank feeds, again, we can put that in, drag these around the order. I guess we'll add a date. It'll be the same date, so we'll just be picking the Wednesday. We want to go up. We want to have this repeat. And why won't this? Let me save it. Oh, because I haven't picked a client. There we go. I picked my client. Now I can save it. So perfect. Now I've saved in there, and it's going to repeat. The one thing that you want to watch with repeating entries is if I go in here and I'm like, oh, we don't use auto entry anymore, we've used something else for this or whatever, and I go ahead and I remove this task, I can remove it and I save it. And that's great. And it went away. Why did it go away? That's really weird. It went away. I guess it clicked it as done. Or maybe that was the only one that was actually done that week, because here we should have, oh no, because check auto entry was a task. That's right. We're looking at all types. If we want to look at just the projects, here's the projects right here. Again, we can do that. But now what happens is that deleted the auto entry here. But if I look here, auto entry is still here. So you need to be really careful that if you're doing something that affects the series, you click on to open it, and then you click here. If you notice, you're editing a single project in the series. So if you want to edit the full series, you just click there, and now you're going to go remove auto entry, save the series. Do you want to start today, or do you want to maybe future date this to start as of, anyone's after September 1st? So again, you've got some really good flexibility with that. So you can save that. So that's really cool. Let me just take a quick look here. So we've got, what else? So if we want to actually deal with a client and send out a request to a client from here. So we can go in. Nope. Okay, it's not working on this one because it's saying yes, because he's actually not set up on QBOA. Sorry, this is a brand new, a training, not brand new, but it's a training file. So we don't have it set up to any of our existing files. But you could certainly, again, send the request through clients through here. It just has to work with real files attached. And yeah, I don't want to bring up my actual one because clients, of course, didn't sign off for me to be able to publicize this, and this is a public webinar. But you can very easily, again, click to do your client request back and forth in here, which is really cool for any of that. And again, it keeps it right in QBOA, so that's really cool. Maybe I'll try to see if I can get, a shell account or something set up in here to show that for another one. Okay, what else did we miss to go through? I think that was about it for this part of it. If you've got a Slack integration, you can actually connect it to Slack. Is that? And again, I don't think we actually have our Slack, so maybe I should just pop over to the new one and then not put this up on my webinar afterwards. So here's if we're looking at our actual work. This is what our actual work. Oh, and look at that. That's not even working because I didn't refresh that today. So while we're on this is actually a great idea to bring up. So a lot of you are probably sitting there thinking, well, if I'm going back and forth, it's not really convenient to go back and forth for my client and work and all of that. Because of course, then you've got to get out of your client, get back to work, see the task, get out of work, go back to the client. A few ways you can do this. And we each use it differently here in the office. So Sandra and myself actually have the QBOA desktop app that we actually use. This stays open to our company file, and this stays open to our work all day. We do not get timed out on this, which is why I really like this, that if we get sidetracked and don't come back, we're not timed out. So this is where this is really good from here. So here's your create client request. Because I do actually have clients created here, I can click on that button up in the top right corner to be able to create a client request directly to clients. So we can, again, create a client request, send this directly to the client. We can, add a document here if I want to send something. So we do have a client that we send their PD7A, which for those Americans are US neighbors and friends and colleagues. So what that is that's their payroll, their monthly payroll deductions. That's just the form. Excuse me. We can pull that up in here and we can actually send that to them and attach it as a document here if we want to. Just click add document. So we can type in, monthly, payroll liabilities, select our client, so pick the due date. Again, we would probably send this right away. And then here we can click here, what we need. We can, oh, it's not a QuickBooks client, which is why it's not letting me do that. So, okay, they're a QuickBooks client. So now I can add a document because they're actually a QuickBooks client. So that's great. So we can send the documents back and forth. And again, they need to be a client to have access to that wind screen. We can put the details in here. We can change our status. We click to notify the client, which is really great. Publish to the client's QuickBooks. So I don't want to do that because these are real clients. So again, I don't want to do that. So we're just going to close that one off of here. You can see here, there's a lot. This is really overwhelming when you first log in. So I'm kind of glad we popped into here. So what we do, we always immediately default. It comes in and shows all types, everybody. So I immediately default to myself and projects. Because again, I don't care about the tasks because how we use tasks is just very specifically that the task is like a little to-do step. The project won't be done in one sitting. So I've got a little bit that I've got to catch up on this week. It's been a little bit of crazy of a week. So there's some stuff that I've got to catch up on. There was a due dates, but this is a lot easier to look at and a lot less overwhelming than the other view. So absolutely, which is why we do that. And then of course, if we've got this one, so let's say I've done this, I click done. Oh, my Slack isn't open. It'll pop into my Slack automatically, which is really cool. That we can see that that's been done. And again, what the whole team has done in Slack. So that's cool with that. Okay, so I think that was it. That looks like everything that I've ticked off here to show. So let's just open it up for questions. So there's not a lot of us on the call. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to add all of you rather than using the Q&A and the chat. I'm just going to actually bring all of you in and allow for all of you to talk. And it's up to you if you want to type, if you want to unmute yourself and talk, you certainly can. If you would rather type a question in, you can certainly do that. But if I'm allowing you to talk, then, this might move a little better on this. So I've just gone ahead and allowed you all to talk, so you do need to unmute yourself for any questions.
Hi, Tanya.
Hi, Retta. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So I do use this quite a bit.
Okay.
I only have a couple clients that go into their QBO file.
Okay.
So I'm wondering how, if I'm sending them a request through here, there is the option of sending it to their email as well. Is that what I understand?
Absolutely, there is. Yes, there 100% is. And that way, because I, like you, don't have a lot of, I don't want my clients really in messing around. There's a few of them that do. But yes, you can have it just sent by email. So if we pop back into, let me just bring that picture up. So here it is. That all you're going to do is you're going to unmark up here. Let me just see if I can turn on. Here's my pointer. I can bring a pointer. So let me get to the right slide. So right up here, allow replies. You're just going to turn on the allow replies. And there is in the setup beforehand, you just don't click publish to QuickBooks. You'll just hit just to send. So that way it'll only go by email.
Okay, yeah, because there's a couple people that, well, a few that they don't open it enough to even, it would never even get to them. So
exactly, yeah.
I like the idea of sending the PD7A through there. I hadn't thought about that.
We're very particular, and so you will see, next month, what's weird when we get started at boot camp. Yeah, you'll see we're very particular. We don't send anything by email that a client can actually like put them at any type of risk for identity theft. So we use Smart Vault to send a lot, but we have some clients that don't access their Smart Vault. So with that case, we, kind of send it through here because this is a little more secure than the regular email. And yeah, so I know, but the PD7A really doesn't have enough information. But yeah, you're right. There might be something that maybe you want to send it slightly different.
Yeah.
A different way, and absolutely send it just by email or publish to their QuickBooks.
Yeah.
Depending on what type of client you have and how interactive they are with their QuickBooks.
Yeah. Well, I do send pay stubs through eCourier, but this one client never ever logs in and picks them up. So he's the boss, so he doesn't seem to care, but the employee does, but he doesn't. So I thought, well, maybe I could send them through here to him and it would be secure.
So who do you run their payroll through, if you don't mind me asking?
Just through QBO.
Okay, so QBO, on their standard payroll, they now have an employee portal. The employee can log in and get their own pay stub. It's not a huge employee portal. There's not a lot you can do with it right now, but we've tested it out and we actually use it internally. But yeah, they can actually sign in and access their own pay stub.
Oh, okay.
So that might be something to, maybe if you want to look into. All you do when you go in to set them up under the employees, so I obviously can't bring it up on screen for this public webinar because that's real employee information, but when you go in, you just make sure that you add their email address, and then I think there's a box that you ticked off, and they'll automatically be sent an invite to sign in where they can access their own pay stubs. And then that way it's not being sent out by an email. They'll just receive an email notification that their pay stub is ready. And Leanne, you receive it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, Leanne's gone. So she received, I was going to ask her, but I'm sure it just says it's ready and for them to sign in if they want to download it and print it. So it's very secure. So.
Okay. That sounds good. I'll look into that.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Okay. So, yes, there's somebody had a question that they signed in late. Absolutely. There will be a replay that is going to be sent out. So no worries, that will be sent out. It says it goes out 1 day after, but so I'm not sure if it's 1 day is considered a 24 hours. So either by tomorrow or the day after anyway. So there absolutely will be the recording emailed directly to you. Okay. Any other questions? Wow, there's no questions. So let me ask then, how many of you, and feel free if you'd rather put this in chat, no worries. So how many of you have used this before other than Retta? So is this, I know there's probably 1 to 2 that probably use this a little bit on there from my best recollection. So here, let me just find the chat to see the chat box. Here's the chat box. Okay, so nobody's putting in chat. So either nobody's listening to me anymore. So either that or nobody's using it. So let me ask then. Okay, so someone says, yep, just playing around a little bit, haven't gotten into it. So let me ask, is there anything that you've seen today or that you maybe wished it had done that you haven't seen today that maybe something else uses? Like we used to use Asana. I know Leanne still does use Asana for certain tasks that are not client related. She does our our social media. And so she'll use Asana for that. That still works well for her. And so she just kind of stuck with that. Anything client related is all set up in here. So 17 hats on one night. Okay. It's interesting. Anybody who knows me knows that I'm a 17 hats fanatic, but we found that if we're using the task part in 17 hats, it was getting kind of lost. So by using the QBOA work, it pulled it out. And so we've kind of separated those two tasks. And we're finding that it's a lot easier. So that way it's, again, 17 hats is automatic communication, CRM. This is our actual task assignment. So we found that was definitely a lot easier for that part of it, absolutely. And so I assume all of your clients are using QBO. Yes, we, a couple of years ago, just all except for one. We still support one client in desktop only because they've been with us for over 10 years. They're one of my originals when I moved into this area. Otherwise, we made a decision a couple of years back just to support solely QBO. I wanted to not be changed to my desk. It's not to say that, and I mean, we definitely have clients that we've, or potential clients that we've lost potential business from because we won't deal with, their desktop or their Sage or anything. And that's okay. I don't try to convert people. We let them know we work with QBO. We do have people's names that deal with Xero, that deal with Sage, and deal with QuickBooks Desktop locally to be able to refer them over to, because, QuickBooks Online is not for everybody, but we've decided to just specialize in it and just solely provide through QBO. Work looks like a great layout and easy to stay on task. It absolutely is. I will tell you, it's difficult at first just to try to create that habit. So what we do is we've kind of got this set up down here is, again, the desktop app. So you can see it on my toolbar down here. We've got the desktop app set up down here, just strictly, let me turn off the pointer because the pointer is now bothering me. Pointer off. So yeah, so we have it set down right down there to try to remember. So it took, it takes what, 7 days to make or break a habit or something like that, I think they say. So it did take a little while. But again, as soon as we've downloaded the desktop app, so we stay on, it's fine and it's there, and it's just become habit that this is where we go. We are task deadline driven and task driven. And so everything is done by a task. So it's funny that just when they work on a file, they just work on a file. But again, we have certain tasks that we do every single week. We review their QBO, we review their HubDoc, we review their receipt bank, and we might have, some clients are Monday of that week, some are Tuesday, some are Wednesday. So we've got our weeks very regimented. We've got our reconciles. We know, our reconciles are 10 days after the end of the closing date of that statement. We'll go in and we'll reconcile. So again, we have every single task set up to here. So this is how we work from here. And again, our steps are detailed enough for scalability. When it was just two of us, we didn't have to worry about it. But once we started realizing for growth and scalability, because of course I wasn't planning even having a team. And then Leanne came along, and then we weren't planning on going beyond us. And now we've got 5 of us. So things change and they change very quickly. But by itemizing it for scalability, it makes it really easy with, again, minimal training to say the steps are there, just follow the steps, everything can be done. And that's great. Now, Leanne doesn't necessarily work with the desktop app. She's just gotten into the habit of working with Incognito. So what she'll do is she'll have her client QBO up that she's actually working with, and then she'll have her work set up to an Incognito one, or you can do it in Firefox, you can, or Edge. So as long as you're using a different browser or Incognito, that'll work fine as well. So again, that way you're not kind of going back and forth and back and forth. So that works really well. All right. So are there any other questions? Again, feel free to unmute yourself and speak or type in. And Dominique prefers my method. So you find the same thing in 17 hats, I assume, then Dominique, that it's a little overwhelming when you've got everything in there. Yeah, that's the one thing we found, which was great when QBOA. So we've been using 17 hats since before QBOA work was even a thing. So what we did is we then took the tasks out of there and put them into Asana, worked with that for about a year, and then the QBOA came out, and then we moved everything. We found it worked really well. So, but then we moved everything over into there, and it's been a lot better, definitely, for us to be able to keep on task because things aren't getting lost and jumbled together. I apologize. There's the beagle. I didn't think that we'd be able to get through a whole, the door was closed, but I guess my husband went out. So she now sees something, you know, it's a squirrel moment. Anyway, we made it through most of it, just all the way to the end, actually. So if there's no other questions, we'll just give about another 30 seconds if anybody's got a last minute question. Otherwise, we'll call it a day. And then again, this will be sent out. And if anybody has any questions, you can certainly feel free to contact directly. If you want to talk to us about, even boot camp, we go into detail about a lot of stuff of our workflows, our processes. We provide all of that. It's kind of business consulting services for bookkeepers. So we don't teach you to bookkeep. We give you all of our flows, help you take what you want to take that works into your processes and work it all in there. We cover marketing, social media, your website, all the way from automating your process as much as you can. And again, you get everything that we use, all of our contracts, our templates, everything in Word to be able to copy and paste into whatever you use as well. So if anybody has any questions on that, you'd certainly give us a call. Okay, so I guess that's it because there's no other questions. So thank you very much, everybody, for joining today. I hope everybody has an absolutely awesome day, and we will see you all shortly. And if you haven't registered for the financial series yet, our first one, we had our kickoff with Rhonda Lynn on Monday for the public ones. Boot campers get a private one, so I know there's a boot camper on the call, don't get confused. But the public one, we have chatted next week. So that's the regular series. So if you haven't signed up for it, there's 12 weeks, 12 apps of a how-to on financial, no cost. There's no anything. People have asked, no, it's completely free. I just want to help everybody get educated so that with all of this automation, so that we can all start evolving with, proper advisory services and really understand how to. So if you haven't signed up for them, bookkeepersbootcamp.ca is our page where I've got all of the resources. All of our webinars are on there, so absolutely just keep an eye on any new webinars for that. And if you're on our email list, you get emailed automatically when new webinars come in as well. All right, so thank you very much, everybody. Again, have a terrific day, a terrific week, and enjoy the rest of your summer. Bye.